Hello and welcome back to Red Fox Classics, where we have a GT6 minus a wing and a wing. Now what we're going to do, or what we're going to do today, is build up this Wheelarch because it's all manky around the edge. But to do that, we need to be able to put the wing back on. And to do that, we need to touch up all the little edges that were damaged when taking it off. Now, I've actually got a head start and done most of this, because it was just sort of shoving little bits on and welding them and grinding them. Obviously, grinding needed. But let's have a look at doing this bit, because this actually involves a little bit of making the out pan. And what I'm going to do here is very similar to what I did on the other side. I'll actually take a piece of scrap sill, because it has this curve in it already, which is the right curve, make a bend, and then graft it into here. And then because this curves very slightly, rather than trying to make that curve bend, just going to put in and repair that curved section, leave it a bit too long, figure out what my shape needs to be there, and just weld a flange on the corner and grind it till it's nice. So let's go digging in the scrap pile, somewhere under here, and find myself a bit of sill. Well, it turns out I don't even need to clean up something that came off the car, because I've got this remnants of my first failed attempt to put a sill on my Spitfire. So I'm going to cut like a chunk out there, lay it against this surface because the curvature is already right, but I want to find where that bend should be. We make that bend and then we start to fit it in here. So I need to make sure I've got a bend where this curve is going to line up with it. So it's got to be parallel to the centre line of this curve, which also I can't find, you know, with a ruler. So I'm just going to get it positioned on here where it feels right. Get that bolt on. I'll go and get that bent and see how it sits. Okay, that's it. Alright. I've just done that by hand in the vise, pressing just with my thumbs on the very bottom, because if I did it in the metal folder I would crush this shape out of it because of the setup I've got, or if I leaned on that with my hand as well I would bend it away. How about that? That seems okay. I was planning on doing this the other way around, so trimming this to fit in here, but this is actually feeling like it's going to be easier to go like this. So I'm going to trim there. Along here. And then that's going to let me drop this piece that way, put it flush with this edge. And then more accurately mark out what needs to be removed from here. Now the really important thing here is going to be getting that fitted straight on this edge. It looks like it is. So I realised I was rushing this yesterday, and I just need to stop because it wasn't gonna end up well. I went back again today, cut it back off, and tried to refit it. I'm still not getting. I would have liked a tighter gap, but I think I should work with what I've got here, because it is, after all, going to be right at the bottom of the car. So I'm going to get it. I'm going to be able to get it good enough. So I'm just going to get this tacked in, and hopefully it'll line up this time. So that's on, and well, would be straight if there wasn't a weld seam in there. Got to grind it and double check, obviously. Now I know I normally, or quite often, will do the grinding, little tack, grind them all down, tack it again, repeat. But because my gaps were not great on this one, I just won't do the whole thing, and I'll deal with it. When I grind the whole thing. Now the last addition, I think, for this has got to be that flange. So I'm just going to find myself another piece of scrap metal. That's the bit the spare bit I cut off the wing. Didn't put that in there. Just figure out what that shape needs to be, and weld it on the corner. Sure, I won't use that because that has got grinding marks and a bit of pitting in it. So what I'll do is I'll just measure what distance that needs to be. Well, I'll measure all three sills I've got access to, all three lower wings I've got access to. Not Spitfire, and the one on this side, I made that one, and they're repros, but if they'll come out the same, that'll give me some confidence, and then I'll just blend the shape in. So that distance to that distance, 10 3/4 inches seem to be the magic number. Except for I managed to make that one 11, but it looks okay, so whatever. So you see, I have just put in a piece of metal, and I've welded it there, and there, and I'm then going to go and cut and grind that back, so it all blends in nicely. Obviously, plenty of grinding to do. So I'm going to do that, well, for me next time. For you, next time the thing you see will be this done. I'm ready to hang on there and start figuring out this bit. So I know this looks like the same view you've been seeing before, but I've spent some time grinding all those little repairs I did to the wing, tidied up all the edges, and I've put it back on. So you know, that's complete now. There's a little bit down there, and so on. Then I've had to play with the fit again. So I've actually moved it back by about 1/8 of an inch. Well, a Cleco hole's worth, because you can just about see the edge of the drilling for that, where that went before. And what that has let me do is sit the door a little bit through the aperture. It's obviously going to still need some gap playing, but the important thing is the door will sit flush with the wing. Now the reason I've been able to move it is because I've cut away all of this Wheelarch, except for there's about that much. It needs replacing, but it is original metal, like that much there, and now we have the wing sat against that, which before it was being held off by all the crap down here. So I think this is probably going to be its final position. I'm going to have a bit more of a play and a think to convince myself. Not really fussed about how the rear is going to sit fine, doesn't matter. The front, it's that line up the door that's important, and I want to be able to get myself the Clecos in, so I've got this bit fixed in the right position, because that's crucial to getting all of this fit right. Is how far out this is, because if you pull that down, you shove in, if this comes down, this goes in, that goes in, and the door doesn't fit properly. Oh, what a mess. Anyway, when I'm happy with that, I'm going to start building the inner wheel arch to fit where this is sitting now. That's on. Pop the sill on. I'm happy with it, and I'll drill my holes, and that's where it's going to go. So don't take it off again, and I'm going to start with this section, I think, because it's the shallowest curve. And I'm not going to try and do one whole great big. No, I'm not. I'm going to do this in sections, because otherwise it's just going to get awkward, and it doesn't really make any difference. So yeah, I'm going to do that sort of section first, and that will start to get a more solid fit as well, because we'll start to be able to meet up with bits of the wheel arch too. So let's take the wing off again and bend some flanges and start stretching them to fit. So that's the wing off, and I've just marked myself 2 points that I'm going to work between. Obviously it can be a bit shorter or longer, it doesn't really matter. But there is where we still have that one remaining bit of original wheel arch. And here is where I've already welded something into the wheel arch, so I'm going to have a good start and end point. Cut myself a bit of metal, which is currently way too long. First thing is, though, is going to be to just smooth out those bits of edge, move any remaining bits of weld, so we work into something that's decent-ish. The distance I've marked out is just over 13 inches, so let's have about 13.5 of this, shall we? Having looked at the car again, I have realised that this will curve, and needs to curve in both directions. It's going to sit in the wing like that, but the wing and the wheel arch curve that way, and obviously to fit the wheel arch. So I'm going to start off and ever so slightly shrink one edge to form that curve. I'm going to do it that way round because it's going to be a much shallower curve, so hopefully it's not going to impede me getting the jaws on to make the other curve there. So that's on the car. I'm going to be trying to match up, and it's only going to be a rough go, because as I say, it's only going to be give me a rough idea, get me roughly in the right place, because as I change in the two dimensions, they're going to affect each other. So that's now approximately right against the car, so I want to get it in and start trying to make that match. I'm going to do this more in sections, so I'm going to try and get that bit to fit. With these tools, you can always use one to undo just for the other if it proves to not work. And with that bit pretty good, I'll just on the next bit. And now what's happened is it's straightened out a little bit as I've bent that way, so I'm going to need to try and just come to the edge here. And having adjusted the one edge, I've now, as I said, changed the shape a little bit, so I'm going to shrink a bit there to bring it back in line. The nice thing about the shrinker in this case is you can do it right on the edge. So that's now looking approximately right on both pieces individually, which means I need to try and do them both at once. So I've just popped the wing back on to check that position. Now I'm going to slip that on there. Line it up with the edge. Put barely holding tacking. So I'm going to be able to move that up and down. Get the wing on over the top. Clamp this down and hopefully be able to get tack in at this end. Then we're going to be able to mark that top or just cut through it and push the two pieces together and weld. So you saw what I was doing. I tacked this in place, as I said, and then clamped it down, tacked it on the outside, cut through at an angle with the Dremel and extremely expensive little grinding disc. they've just been trouble because there's been previous weld here, so it's been hard to cut. Anyway, then I've gone and clamped it, pulled out the strip from the back, tacked it, worked my way along. So I'm going to finish and weld that. Also, while I was waiting for my battery to charge, I've stuck in some extra bits here. Anyway, I get that fully welded, and then it'll be do the same thing one of the other ends. Probably do the back first because it's going to be a bit easier because there's more of it than that. So I get that bit of grind. It's a bit lumpy, but it's the inside of the wheel arch. Doesn't bother me. Right. First thing to do is check the wing still goes back on. Then pick a direction. So it goes on. However, you see there the overlap is not very good. So it would suggest that actually I want to pull this out somehow, because even this bit of wheel arch here, there's only like 2 or 3 mil of overlap. So this could be telling me that this wasn't where the wing was supposed to go. But I mean, I like my door cut, so this is where the wing is going. But the rear is good. I'm just going to have to work out how to try and get this to move outwards at this edge. So there's that one done in exactly the same way as that one. Now I've been able to blend it in. Yeah, it's probably not exactly the same as the original shape because I have had to manipulate both pieces in and out to get them to meet up, but whatever. I've also cut out most of what I put in yesterday. Because it just turned out that way. But the whole point, point of adding something in was to make sure I had enough to do this with, and I did need this little chunk up there. So that is all fine. I need to fill in this corner, and obviously there's going to be some grinding and tidying up needed. But that's looking good. I still got to check that the wing still fits, but it did before I started, when I had it tacked, so it should be good. But I'll do that before going any further. Then there's a little chunk in here needs doing. This is the remains of what we had, one remaining original bit of lip in there. Then continuing on, same sort of thing at the front. So just got that last little bit in, and I'm going to move on to this. This I'll do slightly differently because I'll actually have the wing on the car and just shape and fit there rather than having the wing off the car. And that's because for two reasons. One, this is getting pushed up a little bit, so it's going to change ever so slightly the shape here. I want to just build it to the right one. And the other is there's nothing left here, so there's nothing stopping me slipping a piece of angle in and out the wheel arch lip. It was a bit more difficult here because there was actually wheel arch left. Anyway, we're not winning the prettiest wheel arch of the year awards, but it's going to do. Actually, that's it. I mean, that bit looks quite nice, doesn't it? It does have a good curve to it. Anyway, there's still a hole there, isn't there? And I need to make sure I mark a drain hole here. Now, I've been thinking about this as well. All the drain holes in this car, or in these cars, they could be, I mean, in the convertible, do you think maybe they were meant for water? Because, you know, they're going to leak, and they're going to fill up with water. But it could also be, I mean, it makes more sense if all of this was actually for the dip prime. Because these were dipped and primed, or at least up to here-ish, something like that. Actually, no, it's probably up there. Anyway, you'd need holes, drain holes, to let all that flow out, so it could all just be for that. Anyway, enough talking. I'll do the next bit. So that's in, and all I've been doing is I've welded the top and the bottom where I've got overlap with new metal, and I've stuck a dolly against here and hammered over this lip till it started to move round. Then I've done a bit of trimming till it would meet up with the, I've got a remaining solid bit of Wheelarch there, weld up there, and then just cut that rest of that off, and slip a piece in there. Get it welded along the edge. You might weld both sides depending on how it goes out, or how it comes out, and that will close all of that up. And when the wing's back on, I'll be able to trim here, just bend that bit around to meet up. And that's the Wheelarch almost done. Just be this little bit here to fill in, and a little hole there. And after that, it'll be a lot of clean up and time to get the wing on for the last time. Well, that is now done. Just put that last piece in. Still hot. Also got little triangles there. A little chunk to fill in that hole. I welded up that. There's supposed to be a hole there, but I got my boot floor ever so slightly in the wrong place. And also the flange on the boot floor is the other way up than it was originally. It's because the floor is for later cars and they changed the flange direction for whatever reason. So I just welded all that up. I'm going to grind it flat and try and drill the hole in the right place, just so we've got drainage. Also need to remember that. So, is it time to chop on the wing and weld it? Well, no. Because there's still, obviously there's clean up to do, and paint and everything, but before I weld the wing on, I want to do a final fit of the door and the wing. Now if you remember, the door is just goes in the aperture, but one needs to shuffle. So I'm either going to cut the wing or trim the edge of the door. Not quite sure which. Well, first I'm going to put the bonnet back on, wing, or bonnet back down, wing back on, you know. Put everything together, check if anything can move or needs to move, and then if I run out of adjustment, which I'm pretty sure I have, but we'll check again, then we can commit to the wing and start modifying panels to get it to fit. Definitely going to need to modify the wing near the top because it's sat further back from where this is the top of the upper B post comes. So I want to move the wing in a little bit so that's a smooth line. Also the top of the door it doesn't patch, so yeah. Some stuff to do. And I want to do that before I paint the inside of the wing or any of these bits, because if I'm going to weld on the wing, obviously that's just going to burn paint off, and I may as well finish that bit with the wing Clecos on and just paint the whole thing and chuck it on. Anyway, one more thing. I've been having a look at this, and I think I should just replace the edge because this is really fairly pitted. and I'm not going to be able to get a lot of this out. So I think it's just, you know, leave myself the captive knots on and just put an edge on. More powerful. Let's get this easy-ish bit done. Well, that's the easy bit done. So you see it would have taken longer to try and clean up all that surface so I could weld through it and it wouldn't start rusting immediately than it did to just put a new bit on. Anyway, we've got to put the wing on. No, actually, I'll drill some holes first, but then put the wing on and shut the door, shut the bonnet, check how we're looking, and then decide where we want to trim stuff so that the door will fit nicely in the hole and we've got a nice gap. So here we go again. Wings on. I don't think I can move it now. Well, no, I can't because I've built Wheelarch to hold it in place. Looking at this, we're obviously tight here. And the gap under the door says it's low at the front, or relative to what we've got on here. Top of the door, if we could get the door to go up a little bit, it would make better with this width. And if the front of the door goes like that, then the back of the door will come in a bit and the top of the door will come out a bit and we'll close up that gap. So I'm going to try, I want it to stay there at the top. I kind of almost pivot right, well, not quite pivot around that point. I'm going to see what I can do, because I think if I can move the door a bit more, there's less cutting to do. So I'll have a go. So I spent some time messing about. Did manage to move the door slightly. I've also fitted the latch, so it will now actually, it just goes in. Obviously, that's not an acceptable gap. Neither's that, but it's in the door. So it's in the aperture. And it closes. I still can't figure out this bonnet to wing gap, because the bonnet now, you can't tilt any further forward. The wing doesn't seem to want to go any further up. I have just noticed, I've looked at somehow, the bonnet has twisted, not twisted, So this side needs to go that way, and the other side needs to go that way. So it just needs to rotate a little bit. That will make that fit a bit better. And I had this gap set, but now it's tight over here, loose over there. This door to wing gap's a bit too tight, so it just needs to turn around. Yeah. Oh, and I had clamped that bit of angle to the bottom of the door, and I've hammered it straighter. It still needs another go, but it's getting there. Yeah, although it's mostly having to sit and think about what it's done, because I did trap my finger in the bonnet closing it earlier, and that's quite painful. And I keep trying to do stuff and hurt myself, so leaving it to that. So I have done that adjustment, obviously you can't tell, but twisted the bonnet round so my scuttle gap is good again. And that does open up this gap to the wing, wing to the door, which is good because it was too tight. It was workable, but it was tighter than is sensible, because these can hit and you end up bashing the door in the wing. I had to loosen these off to make sure I could move the bonnet. And then when I put it back, I couldn't latch it, and I noticed that actually that's bent, because they're supposed to be about a right angle. And this is all pulled out, so there's one problem there. Because if you remember, the sill that was on the car, there was about a finger's width. I couldn't get it better than the finger's width gap between the sill and the bonnet. And I'm wondering if this is all related. Someone's just tried to kind of crank it down as far as it will go, and it won't go because, you know, physically there's not enough space. Anyway, I'll get those straightened out and that'll help. I still haven't figured out this end of the sill though, because it still needs to come up, and I can't figure out how that could happen. But lots of messing about to be doing still. We'll get there. So I've been at this for what feels like ages, but things have improved. I've managed to get the sill to go up at the front a tiny bit, but what I've also noticed is if you look at the bottom of the wing, it isn't straight. And there's definitely a lump down there, a lump down there, and I'm not sure if I can really say it tilts up at the front, but I think it's at the point where I'm happy to have a bit of a play, because I'm going to have to repair the front of that wing. I can fiddle it to make it look nice. The door's a little bit in at the front, but it's going to have gaskets behind the hinges. It's going to bring it out that tiny little bit, which is what it needs. So I think we can live with that. I can always change my mind later if I need to, but at the moment I think this is going to be okay. So I'm going to have a walk away and another think about it, and then if I'm still happy, I'll put some final Clecos in the sill. Well, I think I'll try to. I think I've run out of them. I have to rob some off that wing. Yeah, then once I know this can go in the right place, or an acceptable place, and get the temporary fixing holes in, and then do the A-post. And what I'm going to have to do there, I think, is, because I'm going to cut more of the structure out, this ratchet structure's going to do me no good. So I think what I'm going to do is weld some bits between the upper A-post and the floor to keep it in an acceptable position, and then cut out the bottom A-post. It's gone very slowly, this. Oh, it has to. But yeah, it's getting to the point of having had enough of it. Well. And I keep showing this side of the car, and it doesn't really look all that different. But it is. And it's taken a lot of fiddling. Now, I've had to pull the door up as far as I can get it. I even went as far as slotting the holes in the A-post. And then I've still had to bend this top a little bit. But now I've got the wing of the door actually meeting up. I've also made some temporary gaskets and put them under the hinges, so everything should be as close to final as it can be. Door still shuts alright. Actually, it's dropping a little bit, but that's fine. It actually goes, I've managed to get it that little bit better in the aperture. It's still going to need some trimming, but we're actually, no, it's still going to need a bit there, but it's going in much better. Actually, the lock can come out a bit there because it's good. Overflow. Anyway, that's good. I've got the bottom of the door lining up with the sill. I've released my ratchet strap across the A-post, so it's only just putting a little bit of tension in, so that's let everything settle a bit better. My wing to sill gap is not that much better, but I think we're at the point of surgery here, and I've ended up with getting this to come up. That gap's got worse, but I'm going to have to skim the edge off the door, and I'm probably going to want to put a bit of extra in there to make that a little bit closer, a little bit smaller. However, I think this is as far as I can go. I need to get the sill on, do the A-post, then obviously I might have to change things depending on how the A-post turns out. But now I'm going to commit to the sill, or commit-ish, at least put some holes in it, so I'm putting it back in this place. And with that done, that's where we're going to end this video. It might be a bit of a short one, I'm not quite sure, but I think doing the A-post warrants its own restart. So what have we done? We've got the rear wheel arch fixed, in fact all the welding done, except for fitting the wing on the rear of the car. Yeah, up to about here. There's nothing remaining except for the seam to run along the inside of the floor. Anyway, yeah, but outer panels are fitted, and I think they're good enough that this is going to be the final place for them, aside from some little shaving of edges and other adjustments. So next time we'll get the A-post in. If you want to see that, make sure you're subscribed, because then you'll find out when the episode turns up. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'll see you next time.